of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's all over much too quickly. The question is, have I learned anything about life?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an episode of Essence of Zen After Dark, your one and true podcast for all things nerd, geek culture alike. I'm here, your host, Zane's on the Blaylock. I'm joined with my co-host, Louis, that Mexican with the K, Sandoval, Louis with the, Louis Sando with the Lambo. It's been a minute, and that's why I forgot. Also, especially, I'm joined by another guest. He won't be that visible on camera, but my cat is actually in here, laying on my desk. So if you see him get up, that's Bugsy. But anyway, Louis, how the happy ham are you?
Not too bad tonight. Yourself?
I'm surprised you're doing just fine, because a little background for the listeners and viewers out there. I pinged Louis like 2 days ago saying like, hey man, is it okay if we reschedule the session to like an earlier point in the day? And Louis was like, yeah, sure, man. It's all good. It's all fine. Whatever. Because I had other things set for today. The other things that were set for today were canceled. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. We can still do the normal rescheduled time for the podcast. I get up, go into the office, look at my computer, no video output. So I literally panicked and spent like around an hour and 30 minutes taking my computer apart to try to fix it. And to this moment, I stopped trying to bite my cords, you bastard. Sorry, the cat is attacking the microphone cable. But yeah, I'm pretty sure what happened was the power went out in the middle of the night, and I think during that moment, my desktop was going through a forced Microsoft Windows update. And so me taking the CPU out of it and then reseating it along with the GPU and things caused my motherboard to reset the BIOS. And as such, I got my video output going again. And when I turned it back on, the first thing I saw was like, oh, doing Windows updates. And I was like, I didn't tell you to do Windows updates. That must have been the issue as to what happened. So, fun.
I'm glad it's resolved and we're here tonight.
Just saying. I'm just glad I ain't got to buy another CPU. These things are not cheap in today's market.
Oh, yeah. What's a dual core cost you right now? $800?
Right. I'm kind of mad. I sold my AMD stock earlier this year. And like right now, I think AMD is at like 120, 130 at value. And I was like, oh, per stock. I was like, oh crap, I could have got an extra chunk. I'm not gonna say the exact amount, but hey, it is what it is.
That's me as well, trading crypto. It's like, man, I pulled out too early. It's either that, I'm like, no, I pulled out too late. To the other two. It's never at the peak.
Random tangent before we even fully start the show. Do you happen to know the YouTuber, is it TechLead? TechnoLead? I think TechLead.
Is it the one with that Asian guy who like says he's rich or something?
Yes.
He's like, oh, yes, I know.
I think he's about to go to jail.
What? Why?
So, like, at a certain point this year, he started making videos saying, like, I created my own crypto coin as a millionaire, and he started talking about his created crypto coin, and he was pushing for it, and of course, people bought into it, and then, of course, he sold, and I think feds are looking at it as a Ponzi scheme or something like that. Essentially, a scam.
Okay.
And so he made a video saying he was going to jail, but I don't know if it was actually set in stone just yet, or if this is the YouTube lifestyle of let me make something to get me clicks and more views.
Clickbait.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. We'll see if TechnoLead goes to prison as a millionaire.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the SEC as what I'm thinking it is. Maybe not, because the SEC has started flagging any crypto project really. And it's kind of, from what I've heard of people in the industry, it's like if you haven't been hit with an SEC claim, Like you're not a serious crypto project until you're hit by the SEC.
Very true. But yeah, so I guess for the show today, everybody, this is season 2, episode 10. There's 2 more episodes, give or take, for the rest of the season. So we're nearing the end of our the show for season 2. With that stated, for any of my listeners out there in Uganda, hello, thank you, and I did not know you guys were as prevalent listeners to the show. For those who are curious, I was informed a couple of weeks ago that in certain podcast data aggregates that the Essence is In After Dark podcast ranks top 20 in the leisure genre podcasts in Uganda, and in the top 100 for the hobbies, I think, or the other way around, in Uganda. So, hey, Uganda, thank you for getting us in the top 20 and top 100 for those genres.
Thank you.
Also, this is post the daylight savings time, and it's been a bit weird. My cat initially has been screaming at me at 5 o'clock to feed him because we normally feed him at 6, and we still feed him at 6, but his internal circadian rhythm is just like, no, it's food time now.
Human, feed me.
And now don't press my power button.
Well,
this cat, man.
if the podcast takes a pause, I don't know why. Either they nod at the power cable or they actually press the button.
Yeah, he just started like waving his paw around and like man, he's staring at me. Okay. I think I'm going to add him to the list as a producer for this episode since he's hanging out with us today. But yeah, so just a funny thing. Daylight savings time is a pain in the ass. I am on the side of let's just get rid of it. But, who knows?
Yeah, me too.
Also, sorry, I'm going through, and I thought I had more light topics to start with, but I guess I'm having a mental lapse. You know who else had a mental lapse, Lewis?
Who had a mental lapse?
A lot of people who was expecting to buy a lot of GPUs this year.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's just on back order. Oh, just kidding. We'll let you know when it's back.
So according to the website Zero Hedge, right? Let me. I forget. This is why we need an actual producer so I can do the transitions for the browser
Jimmy,
shots.
pull that up.
Right. Yeah, no. So apparently, a truckload of high-end video cards were stolen in California, and it's like we got a shipment crisis. We got an ecological crisis going on. We got a chip shortage going on, and as we head towards the holidays, people have to wait a little bit longer to get some decent GPUs. Sad world. Krampus is working overtime this year.
Just delivering coal to everybody. Oh, no, Krampus is the one that like murders you. I think I watched the movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He finds kids who have been naughty and he stuffs them in a bag. And I gotta wonder, did the story of Krampus just start because people didn't know what a serial child kidnapper was?
I'm not really sure on the origins.
It's Danish. I forget. Funnily enough, I believe a lot of the stint from the American cartoon American Dad, the episode where Stan's father becomes the new Krampus. I believe the episode actually does mention like legitimate lore, like real life mythos. That's a weird combination of words. Real life mythos.
Yeah, these graphics cards though, from what this article saying, so that they're starting at I think 330. Now they're upwards of like 1,959 for some of these cards. Holy moly! I'm over here with like a 2-year-old card. I'm like, you know what? I like you. I'll keep you. No need to upgrade right now.
It's like first gas prices bends us over a barrel. Now GPUs are bending us over a wood chipper. I don't know, man.
Saying turkey's going up too, but about mine early, so I don't gotta worry about that right now.
Generally speaking, though, I'm surprised as I don't know. Maybe it's like a cultural thing in terms of like people always want to buy the newest, the greatest, the best stuff out there. But no, you still have cards from like the GTX era. You know, like the 1000 series. You know, the 1080, 1090, 1070, etc. that are still performing quite well with modern games today. Granted, you don't play them on the highest graphical settings,
Right.
but no, and I'm probably a little bit guilty as well. I have a 2080 Ti. I think it's a 2080, and it's an RTX card. Is it a Ti? It might be a Ti. Anyway, but like I play my video games in 1920 by 1080, so I'm not even pushing 4K or like high fidelity. So like I probably don't need that 2080 in my my rig, but I'm also don't plan on upgrading anytime soon. So
Yeah, it's been a while since I've gamed. I hear that part of the demand is crypto. I'm not. Well, I mean, I guess I believe that. I think it's a number of things added together. I'm not opposed to being a bit crypto mining. Yeah, but I think it's also just chip shortages in general. Oh, sorry about my phone going off. There you go.
they'll probably do. Like last session, my phone just straight up like rang in the middle of in the middle of one of Andy's like serious talks. So I felt really bad. But I digress. Another story on our plate today is, you know, sorry to say you won't be getting GPUs on time this year, but for anyone who was expecting to get a foldable from Google, that also might be scrapped for this year, right?
Dun dun dun. So what's the story here?
So we've known that Google has been working with Samsung directly for creating some code that works with Android that benefits users with a folding device. That way, your first-party applications like YouTube, Google Mail, Gmail, and more could take advantage of certain standards for folding devices. And it got to the point where we found out that Google had ordered a set of the folding screens from Samsung directly. And so we started to get more leaks about a Pixel Fold. And we apparently, like, a lot of renders are out online now. But someone allegedly has held an actual physical prototype device of it, and they liked it thoroughly, etc. But it seems like because of the chip shortage and because of the shipping crisis as well, Google is either pushing it back to next year, or my phone just pinged, and I got a Snapchat from Ryan. I'll check on that later. For those who do not,
it's not saucy.
Every time he snaps me, it's something saucy. But
Unless you want it to be saucy, then I hope it's saucy.
For those who do not know, Ryan is Captain Rye. If you guys watch the EOZ Twitch streams, like the current Back for Blood stream sessions and seasons that's going on, yeah, that's same Ryan. But I digress. So yeah, they want to either push it back to next year, or they actually might scrap the device altogether. Personally, I think they should continue pushing it through and try to get it out next year, because a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in folding devices, and I think it will continue to be a very niche user group, but they're so useful, man. I know I have gushed on various episodes multiple times about my Fold, but I love my Fold. I do. I love this thing.
One of my friends, she upgraded from an old Samsung, I think Galaxy 2 or something really, really old phone from like a few years ago, and then she jumped right into the Fold. She's like, man, I love this thing so much. She's on Discord a lot, and she says when I open that up, I could have like Discord right here, like move it to one screen if I wanted to. I could have like this like web browser over here, look at some other stuff. She says it's so amazing. I'll just sit on my couch and just use my stylus. It's just great. I don't need a computer. I'm happy with this.
Oh, so she got the Fold 3.
Is it the Fold 3 that does all that?
Yeah, it has stylus support.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, she might have got that one.
I
I just remember pulling that out.
want to upgrade, but I have a very hard rule upon myself to like never upgrade a phone the year after I buy a new phone. I just no. So I will wait 2 more years on the Fold 4 or the Fold 5, which should have stylus support still because it's carrying on new features. And then I'll either buy the newest Fold or the Fold from one generation prior and save some money. But we'll see.
See, my philosophy on it is keep using it until the battery doesn't hold a charge. Then try to replace the battery. Unless the battery isn't available anymore, then I guess I'll begrudgingly upgrade. I just want to keep on holding on to this thing. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, like, but I don't know. So did you read? We're gonna like, I'm sorry, like so many tangents, but at this point, users should be accustomed to our tangents. Did you read Clordoc's conversation in the Discord earlier? No, I think yesterday.
I have not. What was it about?
He
Summarize.
I'm gonna put some people on blast. So no names, of course, but like still. Where is it? So he asked everybody. It was like a jokingly thing. So he's like, quick poll. What is the normal amount of laptops a user might break in 2 years? I assumed it was less than 5, but I guess not. Also, 3 were in the last 4 months.
Can I guess the brand? Is it Apple?
No, I don't. So he says that they've switched out this user's laptop multiple times and gave him like a Dell, and I think an HP here and there. But
Is
like,
he an IT guy for context?
yes, he's a
Makes
field
more sense.
technician.
Oh, okay.
But like, point still stands. So Clorox gives the context, and he's like, actually, well, it might be a little too much. I don't know. Essentially, laptops falling off of trucks, falling out of a bucket, a tree falling on it, closing the lid with the pen in between the keyboard and the screen, and etc.
Oh, so these are like contractors, something that he's like dishing these out to, like
Yeah.
guys out in the field. Okay, that makes more sense.
But it's like,
Dang, that's
I told him, I was like, if the trend follows with 3 laptops every 4 months or so, that's 18 laptops a year. And
yeah. Holy moly.
I make a joke saying this guy is single-handedly making the biggest impact in the chip shortage.
Guys, I found your chip shortage. Holy moly, yeah, that's a lot.
Oh.
Man, I'd hate to look at his phone. What does his phone look like? It's all crusty and broken and oh man.
Oh. So, a lot of people always talked about like, oh, folding phones have a plastic screen. Plastic screens don't shatter that easily. And I guess I'll give a quick. I need to do an actual video of like using the Fold 2 for over a year. Yeah, because it's been a year and a few months, I think, since I got this. So yeah, without the little screen protector that came on it initially, the screen still looks phenomenal. I don't know if like the camera will be able to pick it up as easily. Yeah, that's a picture of Zorro, for those who are curious. But there are a few light scratches, mainly from my thumbnail from when I do like scrolling, through, and that has accumulated over the said year. Initially, I thought, okay, well, that's still kind of bad. Like you can see these micro scratches when you turn it in the right light on a brighter surface. But then I looked at my old Note 8. And I looked at it, and it also has a bunch of micro scratches. And oddly enough, around the area that I would scroll with my thumb. So even on a glass phone, after like 3 years of scrolling, it did leave my thumbnail left some scuffs, and micro scratches on a glass screen. So to me, that just made me feel far more comfortable with a non-glass screen. So just throwing that out there.
Gonna be the same thing. Yeah. Oh, that's a good observation. It's good to know. I usually see the micro scratches as well. But I'm just rubbing up against my jeans, like in a particular spot, or I got some dirt or grime in that pocket, and they show up on the screen protector. But even with the screen protector, they take it off, and along the edges of the screen protector, sometimes they'll see some scuffs and whatnot. It's like, well, it's not perfect, but at least it keeps the main area of the screen safe and protected.
Yeah. And hopefully, if companies like Framework ever continues to grow, I would love a Framework phone. Putting it out there now.
That would be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I'm planning to buy one of the laptops sometime next year, and I think that'd be pretty neat if I could just hold on to that laptop until it like doesn't work anymore, or swap out the battery on that thing. Swap out the motherboard apparently, because apparently the motherboard is swappable as well. They've just yet to make any new motherboards for it.
Yeah. I believe
really excited about the project.
I believe they stated at certain points, certain motherboards might not be compatible with certain chassis, but that might only happen if a future design improves so much, but does not fit the previous layout of that chassis. But they will inform users which things are compatible if they ever reach that point. So, which I'm big fan.
I'm sure they will.
And we got a story later on that kind of bleeds into that, which is going to be really cool.
All right.
But
yeah.
But before then, though, let's talk a little bit about business and college. And the relation to said college is, hey, bro, can I see your answers and cheat off your paper? That's a bad segue. I'm sorry. I didn't do a good job with that.
So what's this relate to, Zane?
This is relating to a company or organization or a group. I'm not sure the proper terminology of like how their business is set up or whatever. But Streamlabs.
Okay. Are they under hot water?
Maybe slightly, like maybe really, really warm water for now. But it can potentially continue to bloom into something far more hot.
Okay.
So, for people who do not know what Streamlabs is, it is a group, organization, company / things that created certain software and platforms for streamers. So, if you've ever seen like think about a small Twitch.tv streamer, and when you follow them, you may see like a little animation appear on the screen. It's like a little zombie running, and it's like, oh, thank you to so and so for following the channel. That animation and stuff, typically through Streamlabs. As they continue to grow, they created a tool for streaming with their toolage and API endpoints built into the software, and it was called Streamlabs OBS, or Slobs.
Slobs.
And the funny thing is, so what Streamlabs came under fire for was they made a deal with, I believe, Xbox. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Xbox or Microsoft. No. I think Twitch direct. No, hold on. I can just read the article that I have brought up. Yeah, so they were going to launch Xbox streaming platforms and beyond, and it came with like a mobile app. So you can tie in and log in and have your Xbox gaming account sync up, and then you'll be able to stream from the Xbox and then use your phone with Streamlabs integration to do all your stream enhancements. And all fine and dandy until another company by the name of Lightstream went and said, like, hey, your marketing for this new project of yours is literally a one-to-one copy of our marketing. And they have a side by side, and you can literally see everything down to like the word choice and the word usage is copied. They even took like the testimonials from users, same words verbatim, but then they just made up different names for the customers.
That's hard to skate by there. I'm sorry. I guess you could say the other things are coincidence, but to have the testimonial, I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe the users don't have anything else to say, but to also have those same exact ones in the same exact order on your page,
yeah, looks really bad.
Yikes.
So Streamlabs tried to come out into the defense and say like, oh, hey, no, that's our bad. at least for the user testimonials, that was used as a placeholder that we forgot to change. And people are like, BS! BS, because you would not have made fake names for, placeholders. And then second, what kind of quality assurance, what kind of quality control did you have where this all goes through, but the one thing you're focused on is the user testimonials? No, you copied.
Nah.
You got caught.
These guys got caught in 4K and they're trying to walk it back. Nah. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Nice try, but holy moly.
so yeah. So Lightstream, of course, came out with the heavy gun saying like, "Yo, you copied us. You're a clown." Blah 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 blah. And then we found out from OBS, like the actual open software, community OBS, open broadcaster software. We're like, oh yeah, no, this isn't new because when they created Streamlabs OBS or Slobs, we actually contacted them and said, hey, can you not use the OBS name because we are not signing off of your fork for this project? And they allegedly, Streamlabs said, okay, sure, we won't do that, and did it anyway.
Oh man.
So it's not looking good. It's just, and of course now Twitch and Microsoft are in a very awkward situation because they're like, should we pull our partnership with this project coming up, or do we just continue and hope they change all of their stuff and get their act together so we don't get blamed?
Well, Microsoft's gonna drop them one way or another. I mean, it's not like the first time the Microsoft dropped the products from support, so drop them early. I don't know.
I propose a third option.
All right.
This publicity is going to make Streamlabs look really bad, which is going to cost their estimated value, their net worth or whatever, not be in as good a standing as it was prior, right? Mm-hmm. And so you got Microsoft, who is a conglomerate and who got money to throw around. I think they'll just buy Streamlabs.
That's on some face for sure. And then they can still keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And not get laughed all the way to the bank.
Yeah. You can have whoever is at the head of Streamlabs at the moment, they can sell off, take their money, dip out, hide, and get off the internet for a minute. They'll rebrand Streamlabs into whatever Microsoft name they want to do. You'll keep the same type of engineers and hopefully have a higher standard of quality assurance and checks and balances for marketing and stuff, so this issue will never happen again. And then you still push forward with streaming software and platforms and tools for people who want to stream their games from their Xbox, because at the end of the day, I think the tool is still very useful for content creators who want to stream from a console and do not have access to computers and things to make streaming easier. So I want this tool to make it to the hands of those users. But at the same time, I don't want to praise or support bad practice, malicious practice, and just downright rudeness. But,
Yeah, I mean, worst case, I think their IP is going to be sold so they can make some money. And or some clone is going to come to take its spot, because that demand's still going to be there.
Yeah. So, I wish I had a few, alternatives for people who may listen to this and who use Streamlabs and who may go, I don't want to use Streamlabs anymore. We at EOZ currently use Streamlabs. I have not yet found an alternative, but I have yet to actually look because I found about this story, I think, either yesterday or 2 days ago. So, whatever. Okay, so I guess at this point we can get into the topic that I teased a bit earlier, right? So, which was, oh crap, no, what teaser did we mention about?
Framework laptop.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I wish I had an actual link for this, but Apple has recently, let's start with the big. Yeah, Apple recently came out and said they're going to start a self-repair service or protocol or something along those lines, where they will create the proper channels for a user to order like a screen or a set of batteries to repair on their newer MacBook devices and whatnot. And so a lot of people have been heralding this as like a big win for a right to repair. And it is definitely a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't call it a big win just yet. Oop, somebody.
Yeah, please.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This is why Lewis makes the big bucks. Oh, this is from Apple directly. Interesting.
Yeah, it's from Apple directly.
All right, let's take a look at this.
When I first saw this, I was like, cool. How easy to repair are your devices to begin with? Because I think last time I saw on iFixit, their repairability score is pretty low for some of these devices that they're mentioning. They're talking about, well, actually I didn't look up these devices exactly, the iPhone 12 and 13. But I know for past devices, their repairability scores is pretty low. I wonder if iFixit actually has any scores for the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 13, which are going to be on their list.
I would assume the 12 and 13 are not going to be that much more repairable than the previous generations, but I do know for a fact that the new MacBooks, the thicker boys, have
The
apparently,
Pros, right?
yeah, they've been designed a bit better to be more friendly, but still not as like praiseworthy as other like framework laptops, for example. Also, the reason why I don't say this is a big win, and I need to switch the thing back over. Yeah, the reason why I say this isn't a big win for right to repair is two things. One, we've seen government legislation kind of get their foot into the pool of right to repair, right? I think Biden signed off on an executive order for right to repair that essentially stemmed from a lot of stuff that was going on within the government worker service, where they had a lot of devices that they could not get repaired because of the BS around companies refusing to give information and parts to repair the things. So
Didn't know that.
yeah. But again, as we all know, when it comes to government, they take really tiny baby steps and act like it's like a big leap on the moon. It's not. It's good, but before I get angry emails from a bunch of different political people. Anyway, so yeah, but I forgot my train of thought. It's not a big win, even though so because of the government interaction in that area, I think Apple went, okay, let's try to get ahead of this and get good publicity and try to make as minimal of a change as possible to be on the good boy list of the government without being on the naughty boy list, or should I say just good list and naughty list. I don't want people getting mad for me saying naughty boy or good boy. And then two, we've seen Apple make statements like this before when they initially made changes to say, oh, we will supply certain repair shops with the tools and the parts that they need if they sign up for our program. And if you look at their program, it is incredibly restrictive, incredibly detrimental. It was to the point where they said, okay, if you're going to join this program, we can come to your store at any time on any day without your permission, check your inventory, and if we find anything that we don't want you to have, we'll pull you from the program and we'll take you to court.
Holy moly. That is not what I expected. It sounds almost like lip service.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I will put this in perspective. A lot of this information that I came privy to was through Louis Rossmann, is one of the face of Right to Repair. You can find their channel, youtube.com, Louis Rossmann. Yeah, it's Louis Rossmann, right? Or the Rossmann Group. Oh, God.
Rossmann Group.
Let
RossmannGroup.com. I think it's the website. Now it's sponsored by Rossmann Group. So we can be.
Oh. I was going to say Lewis hit me up, but then it might confuse people with which Lewis I'm talking about. Rossmann.
Yes, it seems just at a quick glance at these iPhone 12 repair manuals that most of these are moderate jobs. So I think I might be wrong. Things like the rear-facing camera is moderate according to iFixit. Why does why is there iPhone 12 SIM card replacement here at all? Like that's like the tray to replace the tray. Come on, that's okay. That's like saying replacing a SIM card is like doing work on your phone. No.
I don't know, man. Look at the end of the day, I get a lot of the thought process in wanting to protect, your information, your technology, your blueprints, your secret sauce. That ain't got jack diddly squat to do with ordering a replacement part. That is simply a company trying to keep all forms of profiteering under their thumb. They want to be the one to repair, quote unquote, repair your devices. But when you have a broken screen on your MacBook and you go to Apple and you say, "Hey, I want my screen fixed," they replace more than just your screen. And they have designed certain security measures that say if you replace your iPhone screen, your screen will have a chip, and if that chip does not match the same MAC address or the ID in that chip to the motherboard on the phone, it'll go, "Hey, this was changed. I'm disabling your fingerprint." And people go, "Oh, but that's for security. If your phone gets stolen, this keeps them from being able to get to your stuff." No, it doesn't, because if you keep your fingerprint enabled, one, they gotta fight real hard to get that fingerprint to read from not having your thumb present, right? And then secondly, there are other ways to get into a device besides a fingerprint. So no, it's lip service. It's absolutely lip service, and you should be able to go to a repair shop to get a screen repair for like $100, rather than going to Apple, who will charge you $300 to replace the whole damn thing. And also, sorry, Lewis, I'm going on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We just had Apple, who's like, "Oh, we're trying to be more eco-friendly. We're going to stop putting charger bricks in your box for new devices. We're going to stop putting cables."
I hate that so much. It's such a... It's just an excuse to be cheap.
Right.
To swindle you for some more money. Like, what? No, it's not. You guys just don't want to give me more free stuff along... Not even free stuff, it's just things that would come standard in every single phone purchase.
And I would be okay if they just said that. If they just said, "We want to save money," and if that also kind of bleeds into making sure that the MSRP for a device is also, even if $1 or $2 lower than what it was, okay, it is what it is. But when you sit here and say you're doing this to be more eco-friendly and you're trying to be all woke for the green activists, yet you won't let people repair their own crap. Instead, you're gonna make them submit an entire set of entire laptop. You take maybe one or two things from it, put it in a new laptop. Oh, Bugs is on the camera. A new laptop, and then you just kind of waste all the other material. Granted, it gets recycled, but not everything. Not everything. So you are still inadvertently adding to the waste problem. But you want to be a green, eco-friendly company, though. Oh, okay, Apple. Okay. Oh.
I'm sorry, I missed your entire rant. That was my iPhone had a smudge on it, and I think it's from like Chinese tears. I was just cleaning it off. Can you repeat that again? So my opinion, if they want to be more legitimate in my eyes with this whole like power brick thing, why don't they just give you an option online? Hey, it's $299 with the charger, or $289 without the charger. Just make it seem like it's already included, or else just give them like a slight discount to exclude it, and then from there do that for like 2-3 years. And then if not a lot of people are buying the power bricks, make some sort of statement. Hey, we no longer give that option. You have to add it separately on your cart, because through our studies, many people didn't even order the power brick to begin with. It seems like many people already have a power brick. End of story. Done. I mean, they should have done that too with headphone jacks. That's oh my god, a different rant.
Just to add on one more little dagger to the kidney here. You talk about not wanting to include power bricks and cables in your new device boxes, yet you fight tooth and nail not to put USB Type-C on your iPhones.
Oh.
Your MacBooks uses USB-C. Your iPad uses USB-C now. No, actually, no. iPad still. No, the newest iPad Pro, I think, use USB-C, doesn't it?
Yeah, the pros do. Yeah, the pros do.
But for whatever reason, you still want your iPhones to use. Well, I mean, I know the reason, but you want iPhones to use Lightning. But you want to. You assume everybody has all these. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, Apple. Okay. And I would like to make a preference. I know that Apple is not the only one who does this. I think they are the biggest trendsetters that has led other companies to do this. But no, and again, even with Samsung, and I think I've said this multiple times in the podcast for season 2, I do not agree when Samsung does the same ish. All right, I love my Fold, but I turned my phone on. But screw Samsung for doing the same crap. Full stop.
So it's more the posturing that Apple does, along with what they do, that just ticks me off more. It's like, all right, well, if this like sleazy bad company's gonna do it, fine. But they're not saying that they're X, Y, and Z. They're kind of just doing it, and I just want to ignore them. They're not lying to me about it.
Right.
That's what ticks me off.
Oh, and to add on to the other bits about the rights to repair, I believe we saw that for the Apple iPhone 13, it disables some functionality when you replace this. Yeah, I did talk about that, the special chip on the screen. I was
gonna say, I knew they did something similar with like the fingerprint reader.
Yeah.
When that gets swapped out. I didn't know they did that with screens too. Holy moly.
Yeah, that was like the newest security protocol for the newest iPhones.
That's so lame. They probably claim counterfeits and all that other stuff, but maybe it's just upcycling, right? And trying to fix like an old iPhone. That's so annoying.
Which I would like to also mention, Louis Rossman had made a very great point breaking down that contrast to the idea of, okay, well, it might be counterfeits going around. I can't remember the exact points, but I believe it was, even if the screen is counterfeit, so long as it works and looks nice, users typically don't care. And second, if Apple would supply the screens directly for repair shops, that would automatically cut down the risk of knockoffs and imposter parts, because you can get it directly from Apple.
Right, they're kind of helping create the problem and keep it going, basically. Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that.
But speaking on Samsung, so one of the things that they did recently as well, for newer Samsung cell phones, if you unlock the bootloaders on it, it would disable the cameras.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
So it's not my phone?
Nope.
Wow, that's so irritating.
And this actually isn't even new. I remember back in the day, right? I think it was when I first went to college at UAT, ironically, or like right before then. Mm-hmm. My brother gave me his old phone, which at that time was a BlackBerry Storm. And it
I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I still love that phone because like it had an actual big clicky button behind the screen. So if you have to like touch the screen and then push it to actuate that. And it was weird. I liked it. It was cool. But it was locked to Verizon, and I used AT&T. So I had to unlock the bootloaders, who then unlock I forgot the terminology for it, but essentially to make sure the bands could use other services from different providers. And BlackBerry, no, it was actually Verizon. Verizon tried tooth and nail to like not give me the code instructions to do that. And when I went online, I could either buy somebody's service like for $5 to give, like, I give them the IMEI, and they would they cracked the algorithm for the code and how it's generated. Or other people were suggesting just call Verizon, say you're going on a trip out of country, and you need to unlock the bootloader. And like it worked though. It worked. It worked. So it's like,
that's funny.
I don't know. So, anyway, I'm gonna have an aneurysm just talking about these topics, man.
All these things you try to do to lock you out of your own phone. Man, today it's like unlocking the bootloader. You know, camera's being disabled. Tomorrow is trying to swap out your car battery, or your steering wheel just locking up, giving you warning. Sorry, you try to self-service your vehicle.
Sorry, I went to a link from New York Times, and that was a mistake. It's about the Facebook stuff, but
oh, the leaks.
Yeah, but New York Times has you have to be a premium user to read the rest of the article, and it's like I'm not mad at them, but like at the same time, like I don't show the just have a better UI for that. Okay, so you know what? Screw it. I won't have a link for the Facebook stuff. But essentially, for those who may not have heard, Facebook, who's going to soon be called Meta, which is a lot of wrong with that in its own little nutshell. But no, an employee from the company of Facebook recently had came out with a bunch of internal documentation and research from within the company about the effects that social media has on users, specifically young girls, which I'm not going to ask why specifically there was research done on young girls specifically. You know, just little weird, but
Let me jump in. I think I remember hearing about this. It was specifically about Instagram, and there's a lot of young adolescent girls, right, using Instagram. So I think that's why I was specifically talking about girls.
That does make sense. If that's your highest user group, then you might want to. Yeah. Okay. So less creepy, still weird. There was also reports on like how the algorithms on Facebook were modified specifically to target what makes people interact with content the most. And I believe it had turned out to be that it was essentially things that sparked negative emotions, controversial, or let me not say controversial, contrasting opinions. Essentially, they would literally find somebody's political views from their profile of data on Facebook, because if you remember back like 2 years ago, you could go into your profile settings and see which tags Facebook would automatically assign to you. And a lot of people have found that depending on what you post, you could be labeled as a Democratic a political viewer or more Republican political viewer, and etc. So they would use that and then purposely show you something that would likely get you mad, such as if you are labeled as a Democrat, they would show you a lot of Republican stuff to spark essentially hate comments, because then it shows that people are using the platform, interacting, promoting.
Oh, I see. To promote engagement.
Yes.
With the content. Okay, yeah, it's. Oh wow, it's a pretty douchey thing to do as a marketing tactic.
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah. And
I believe another research group actually came out to support said claims from the leaker, because it was something like science group that would utilize that would post their research papers, and they had like a tool that was tied into the Facebook API to see how many people their posts about their scientific findings, it's like related to plant biology or something like that, how many people it would reach. And they noticed over the months that fewer and fewer and fewer people would see this content. So then they went, okay, if our content is no longer reaching anybody, they tested it out and posted something political. Instantly high rate of traffic. So they went, okay, so your algorithm, it could be machine learning, who knows? But essentially, the algorithm had turned to be something that was fueled by aggressive, negative interactions and engagement. And so they called them out on it, and Facebook was like, no, 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 no. And we can't show you how our algorithm works because it would be giving away our secret sauce, and we want to be competitive.
This is somewhat related, but it reminds me of the story I read one day. I posted it in the chat, but it's that the majority of the people who are registered on Twitter don't even use Twitter. It's about 10% of the people on Twitter are creating 80% of the content. Can you believe that? 10% of the people are interacting with themselves over and over again. It's like a tiny little chamber of people when like the user base, which they claim to have, is pretty garbage. It's 10% of that.
Ironically, so like if you would ask me before this data, I would say maybe more like a 30% of users are creating tweets and things. But even at 10%, I can kind of see this being true. I kind of assuming they're doing the whole. Does that percentage also include like the bot accounts and fake accounts that might not be possibly validated as being like a real account?
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. It's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, and it might. And even with that in question, you could make a reasonable argument that, let's say, even if 10, 20, 30% of accounts on Twitter are not real accounts, 10% would probably become like what, 7%, other direction. 10% may become like 13%, which is still a significantly small number in terms of the entirety of the user base. But also 13% of a very large number is still a very large number, which is why, upon thinking about it, I can see this being fairly accurate. Fairly. I don't know how accurate, but decently close enough.
Yeah, it looks like 90% of the people are men. Like only 10% of the people generating that content are women. So
I can also see that too, because I've seen people randomly lash out at women who tweet for like a lot of sad people are online, Lewis. I'll just
there's a lot of lost souls, to put it mildly, on Twitter who probably could probably spend their time in a more productive manner.
Yeah.
Outside of Twitter.
And again, and not to play sides or favorite, look like garbage people exist in all groups, all categories, all walks of life, all genders, spectrums, orientations, etc. Garbage people exist everywhere. But in certain platforms that are dominated by certain groups, you will likely see higher numbers of majorities that can fit a more identifiable garbage label. So it's just the nature of the beast in terms of certain communities. For instance, if you go to an anime community, you're going to see a lot of toxicity centered around anime. If you go to the Marvel fan groups, you're going to see different types of toxicity. And both of those, I believe, technically are heavily dominated by men. So you're going to see a lot of male toxicity there. But then flip side, you go to fashion. You go to the fashion side of YouTube, you're going to see a lot of female toxicity because that area is typically dominated heavily by females. So it's just, again, the nature of the beast.
I wonder, this kind of makes me think of like MMOs and women. And I wonder what the percentages of men on MMOs versus women versus the registered female characters on MMOs versus women, to see how many of these people are lying.
Bro, like...
just to get free stuff from all the guys.
3D chess, Lewis. People back in like the 90s and the early 2000s, the early aughts, were playing 3D chess, 4D chess. Like, I just make a fake account, make it a woman, give her large frontal assets. And
Headlights.
And I can get random dudes to give me free stuff. It's like,
I just pass it over to my alt account. Yeah. Or sorry, main account. Sorry, use the y'all to get stuff in the main account. Yeah.
Look, psychological warfare.
All is fair in love and war.
And loot boxes.
Loot boxes. Hey man, I love your loot boxes.
But yeah, so in general, a lot of stuff about Facebook has been exposed and thrown out, and now their dirty laundry is in the open area. Now, shortly after this information went public, Facebook announced they were rebranding into Meta. Now, a lot of people said, oh, they're doing this to specifically change their name and try to hide from the information that was just made public. But I think that's only half true. So, like, avoiding the whole tinfoil hat theories, I believe Facebook had already, by that time, planned on rebranding and doing the whole parent company Meta. But I do believe they put that information out much earlier than they wanted to because of the information that was then spreading. And I know a lot of people may go, people know Facebook is Facebook. If Facebook did these bad things, rebranding to Meta will not have people forget about it. You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. I'm sorry to break your faith in humanity or potentially make it lower. The average user, the majority of people, will simply go, Facebook who now? I use Meta. And they will just... Majority of people who probably won't even care that these practices that many deem as nefarious or negative are being done by Facebook. Essentially, if Facebook said they snooped on your profile pictures because they could, a lot of people would go, whatever. No, that should bother you. But I digress.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I didn't see it from that angle. I was seeing it from the angles like, just Facebook trying to be relevant, trying to rebrand, get a little facelift. I'm like, nah, in my eyes, you're still boomer book. Like, like once your grandma joins the social network, it's like, yeah, okay, this is not trendy anymore. All the, tweens and all the Zoomers are already on TikTok. They're doing their own dances and everything.
Yeah.
That's the new Facebook in my eyes.
And
MySpace, Facebook, now it's TikTok, I think.
Yes. I actually had this conversation at work. Oh no, I think it's this one. At work, but and for listeners and viewers, don't quote me too hard on this, but I have. It started with the move from China to try to like limit certain software stuff to kids under a certain age, and that being like, for instance, gaming. I know for a fact that China rolled out, yeah. And it's like, if you're younger than 18, then you have a limited amount of time to do gaming, and after that time, you're locked out. And people have circumvented it by using like their brother's account or their parents' account, but point still stands. And China has came out and said like they did this because they see that certain patterns and influences like gaming and social media has had a negative impact on their society in terms of various different things. Whether it's true or not, is besides the point. Just know that's going on. Now, there's been allegations. I've yet to find like actual sources because I found about it on short notice. But people have stated that in China, they've tweaked algorithms on platforms like TikTok that say when it's in their country, children who are going through like the mindless scrolling, the doom scrolling, they are shown more educational TikToks rather than random TikToks, as opposed to other countries where they just let it go free. And when you hear that, I mean, and I have my personal biases against China, especially after the Hong Kong incident. Free Hong Kong, personally. If you hate me for that, oh well, I get over it.
There goes the sponsorship.
Bro, do you remember back when like the gaming leagues got...
Yes, like holy moly, like anyone who mentions anything about Hong Kong or even Taiwan being its own country, goodbye. You're off the face of the planet. Just blasted, disappeared. Who are you?
And look, I get it. I know like every single person who's from China or who's Chinese is not a problem. It's not problematic. But look, China in terms of as a whole, as a country, is doing some really shady stuff that I don't agree with personally. If you agree with it, that's you guys out there. I don't. I find it completely problematic and troubling. But if we take what they're doing with like the algorithms and tweaking things for the citizens in their country because of potential side effects, and then we look at what we just found out with the Facebook's leaks about the impact social media has on younger girls and etc., there might be some actual correlation between the two. I won't say causation or whatever, but there might be some correlation. And I'm not saying that the U.S. should do anything similar to what China is doing, but I believe it's going to be far bigger talking points in the future if we're literally seeing and validating that a lot of social media has negative mental health effects on people, especially the youth. Then you're going to see people. Well, I would assume you're going to see more people speak up and say like, hey, maybe we should have changes. I would not like to see our government take a foot into it, but I would like to see companies held to a higher degree of accountability in terms of how they go about some of their stuff. And not necessarily saying what they can or what they cannot do, but making things more transparent. And of course, those companies, Facebook, Google, Amazon, etc., don't want to be transparent. And their biggest argument against being transparent is they want to remain competitive. Now, I have spoken to a source that I would consider reliable. I'm not going to give too much information because I don't want to put out there or put the well, just give away the person's gender or the person's
No, I
sex.
didn't. Remember, they're the other one. Or are they? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes. But speaking to them, they informed me that in the past they worked with the CIA, and they told me that the reasons why you see companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. having such large value is because they actually get a lot of contracting funds from the government. So, and again, not to be pushing for any type of conspiracy theories, tinfoil hats. The point I'm trying to make is, if you honestly think companies would become less competitive or significantly less competitive if they were more transparent, then I think you are inherently drinking the Kool-Aid. That's it.
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory about the government contracts. I mean, Amazon has Amazon Government Web Services, I believe it's called. It's a specific page where, I mean, they just offer government, like state and federal resources for their computing needs, so to speak. Microsoft does as well with Azure. Google does as well. So I don't think it's a crazy theory. I mean, they specifically want to have contracts with the government because it's, guaranteed employment usually because they're contracts for years.
Yes.
I was gonna say something else. Oh, China. I think no, I think China's onto something there with the video game stuff. I think they're right with the social media and the video games. Like, too much is gonna affect your kid in a bad way. But that's on the parents. That's on the government to try to like push that. I mean, I guess you could push for education, but to do this like whole entire system rollout to force game developers, because a lot of the games over there are from over here as well. I mean, I know there's some from Tencent, but
Yeah.
some U.S. manufacturers also changed the game up. And I don't know if you've seen these Twitter threads at all about games that are being prepped to be sold in China.
What?
Like flags that they're removed from the games, or how this particular character is showing a bit too much cleavage, so they gotta cover her up for the Chinese market, or else the game's gonna get rejected. Yeah, it goes through like apparently this review process. That was for, I think it was Magic Online. I saw this Twitter thread. I'll have to see if I can find it. I think I lost my train of thought a little bit. Oh, but yeah, I see this similar to kind of like banning drugs of people who are addicted. Like, you're not going to solve the problem. They're just going to go find a different like drug to do. Whereas like, these kids are just going to, find some fake account, pay someone in a dark alley, and they might get injured or whatever, in the process. I mean, the parents should kind of be monitoring the kids. But if they're not monitoring the kids and these kids are playing like, I don't know, games like 40 hours a week, odds are they're not going to be the kind of parents to notice the kids are out late at night trying to like buy these like codes from strangers. It's just gonna get ugly, I think.
Yeah.
I think it falls back down on the parents.
Absolutely. And with that, I won't say the solution, but like I think a step in the right direction would be, and again, not to force, but it would be nice for platforms or these software tools or whatever to have things in place to make it a bit more accessible for parents to be interacting with their kids content or activity. For example, I believe Linus Tech Tips actually had a point similar to this around a topic close to it. Yeah, I think about the Chinese gaming system. Linus says that he likes. Oh no, actually, it was about the Linux series actually. But anyway, he made a point saying he likes when he has certain systems set up at home where when one of his kids goes to play something, before they can launch it, it sends a signal to him, and it goes, "Hey, your kid, whatever, wants to play Minecraft. Approve or like deny." And he can approve it and say, "Oh yeah, you can play Minecraft." He can even like set times on it, and to have stuff built in like that, I think would be really nice, really good. I also think we should have more conversations about like how our data is used and held, and because I think back in the day, like almost 5 years ago, Facebook started rolling out things like you can set up somebody to have ownership of your account in case you die and someone needs to get into.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's actually a really important thing to think about in today's society in terms of how technologically connected we are about things. So I think stuff around that, parent to child connectivity, being able to see where your data goes, how it's handled, how it's monitored, etc. All that needs to have people put a magnifying glass, on it. And I don't think we'll have that anytime soon, because I think the current people who are like, you have our generation who are now becoming parents and things recently, and I think that'll probably be the start where things start to shift in that direction, where you have other companies start to do that and become the new competitors to how data is managed. But that's what I would like to see, at least. It's a hopeful dream that I have. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of empowering the parents instead, like offering them the tools for them to be better managed. You can't online. I mean, online's it's almost like the real world. In a sense, I would say it's in some ways a bit worse, because when you read,
it is. Yeah.
When you read something online, it's in your head. It's not something that someone else is saying. You internalize it a bit more as you read it, and if you're not watching what your kids are doing online, you might not know what kind of things that your kid is reading and being exposed to. There's lots of saucy parts online, lots of saucy places.
Yeah. And also, I would like to preference that with my idea that I'm referring to with the having more empowerment to the parents, I don't think companies should be forced to do that, right? I don't believe in heavy, forceful nature when it comes to certain fields like this. I just think that if that becomes a competitive approach that other companies start to incorporate into like their everyday management, then I think that will inherently become a trend for everyone to kind of pick up on, and for us as users to look for as a necessity for whatever platform you're going to utilize.
Oh yeah, I mean, just think about how many parents just automatically just buy Nintendo because of the more family-friendly games on Nintendo and all the extra parental tools that are just on there by default.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you brought that. It's actually, have we talked about that before? I can't remember, but like
go ahead.
The Nintendo, when like how they structure their safety for kids and family first and etc. No, it's really annoying, and I think they could make their system better, but I'm not going to fault them for saying like you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get a friend added to your account on a Nintendo device, right? It's annoying, but I'd rather it be annoying and a child not accidentally or as easily put someone who they should not be friending on their account.
Agreed.
And I know a lot of people will scream, "Oh, this is for the children," and try to push for a lot of over exaggerated or extreme policies and whatnot. I think there's a clear line as to like when something is being crossed, or at least in that near area. Limiting the accessibility for adding a friend is not nowhere near that line that's being crossed. So, no.
Right, right. No, all right. All right, hold on. Let me figure out what I want to talk about first. Okay. So, to comment on what you just said, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be people who want that extra protection, of course, and they're gonna go with that system or that game or that not publisher, but that game developer, right? Because of those extra features that it has to help protect your kids. And sometimes, you're just a bachelor dude, so you have a fun time with like your bros, like all that's just crap in the way of like your Saturday night. Just go ahead and buy like from this system or from this manufacturer who doesn't care about that, has the gore meter up to extreme. Has no like like your Diablo, like no one's
Yeah.
oh my god, or not Diablo, I was thinking of Doom. Try
Oh,
to get that family friendly. Holy moly, that's a challenge on its own, trying to make Doom kid friendly.
Right.
It's not Doom anymore.
Actually, I think that was a topic point in an episode that we had with Andy, where I stated that like accessibility in terms of stuff like, and this is kind of a tangent, but like certain things for like games who want to make settings for people who are potentially like blind or deaf or have trouble with controllers or etc. I think those options are great. I don't think, again, they should be mandatory. Not every single game can be made for children. Not every single game can be made for adults. Not every single game can be made friendly for people who are blind, deaf, and disabled in different areas. It's always great to have those options, but the moment you try to say every single game has to fit like the narrative for all ages, all disabilities, all disorders, if you're epileptic and more, you're going to, it's not realistic. It's a nice to have, but it's realistically impossible to check box all those things. So
Yeah, I mean everything has trade-offs in my opinion. If we were to go that route, imagine how much longer development it would take for games that would maybe take like 2 years. Now it's gonna maybe take 3 or 4 just to check all those boxes. When maybe like 98% of the people who'd probably play this game aren't gonna be in that category of people. Like I don't know, say for instance, like Wii Fit. Like does that game necessarily have to be accessible for people who are in wheelchairs? I mean, maybe some of the games might work where they could play them, but just the nature of the game, it's kind of meant for people who don't have a lot of physical disabilities. Just to give an example.
yeah. And also, I have seen games that were made specifically for people with certain disabilities, like a game that, and you can play it if you're not like deaf or whatever, but I forget. Like, it was one game that was about either being blind or being deaf or something, and it actually came with like if you plug in your headphones, it put a lot of attention to detail for 3D space and the sound, the spatial sound and spatial awareness. So you could still play without. Yeah, I think it was if you were blind, you could still play and literally hear, what things were. It was a puzzle mystery game, so nothing too involved. But even then, back when I was at GSU, I worked on a project to bring in a 3D virtual reality space for a museum. And the target task that we had for that project was to enable a type of virtual walking cane with echolocation. So you can have someone who is blind put on headphones and use the motion controllers, and then they would point their motion controller, press a button, and it would send out a click, and then it would bounce back, and they could see how far away they were from an obstacle. And then when you go to something like an actual art piece or like whatever, the controller vibrated, so then they could press a button, and then it would play and say like, "This is object so and so. Do you want to hear more about it? Press this button." So I'm always open for more diversity, versatility, accessibility. I just think people should probably acknowledge that you cannot force developers to do that if that's not the intended goal or outcome for a particular project.
Yeah, just every you're pulling the rope and it's gonna get shorter on another end. Basically, it's hard to fit all the boxes, right? It reminds you of that software thing in a bit. It's like you can either have it be cheap, quick, or what was the other thing? Reliable. Like pick two. Kind of thing. Like you're not gonna get all three. That's software for you, that too in general.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to throw in there before we switch is well, I guess this is switching a little bit. The game I was thinking about that I saw being censored was Gwen. It apparently is becoming like a standalone game. The game inside of that's played in the Witcher game.
Oh, Gwent, yeah.
Gwent, sorry, Gwent. Gwen, yeah, Gwent is something else. Gwent. It's becoming its own standalone game because it's a popular enough game that people played within the actual game. And I'll have to find the video, but I remember now. I'll have to find you the video and the link of like all the differences. Like, hey, this is what the US version of Gwent has. This is what the Chinese art looks like for Gwent. I'll send it to you. I'll find it after the show.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be mad for developers doing that to make sure they could sell, but at the same time, it's like that's. I guess I get it. I think maybe where I draw the line is if a developer goes, okay, no, I'm not gonna make these changes to sell in this country, and they put it on Steam, and then Steam goes, oh, well, then we have to pull it. Because, like, no, just in Steam, have it so that people in that country can't buy that game. Maybe, I don't know. And people may say, well, that feeds into another country's potential, negative actions. It's not Steam's job to play the UN or political ambassador for all those different countries. I think if a country asks Steam to pull a game, and if Steam wants to agree, I might not agree with it, but I get it. That being said, I think the developer could easily say, okay, have this game not sell in this country, and then those developers can also put their game up on another platform like GOG or itch.io or maybe their own website, and say if someone from a country that cannot buy that game through Steam or GOG or through itch.io, they can go to the developer's site directly and try downloading it there. There's other opportunities to get that game to people in different countries without the burden of fault falling on the shoulders of people like Steam. I'm not going to say you don't have a point to criticize Steam or other platforms that may pull a game due to a country not being okay with it. But if you rationally think about a placement of where like a platform sits, yeah, they have that right to make a call depending on their business. It's not one that we might agree with, but it's still reasonable and rational to think about the position that they're in. It's not to absolve them of said decision, but at least one should be able to understand why that decision was made, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I understand. I would. I'm more in the camp of we shouldn't be trying to negotiate just because of the things that happen over there. I think it's more of a moral argument, and I think that's where I would sit on that line of on this problem, on this topic. Yeah.
And again, right there with you, because personal biases and whatnot aside, and I'm not afraid to speak my mind about certain things. I think me kind of ranting about China alone is proof enough as that is. But I always try to think like, okay, and I'm not saying this hypothetical situation that I'm about to say is what Steam is in right now. But if I say like I run a business, we got to make money because there are people who work for my business who need to feed their families. And if I go, okay, if I make this decision and then it closes out an entire market for my company, maybe my profit will not be in a particular area that makes the company sustainable for this year, or to be able to give them a raise or to have more employees. Now, again, I would assume that one who may hold this conundrum as a moral one would try to design their practice to not be dependent on having that market, be like, whether or not I'm going to eat or whether or not my company's going to go bankrupt. But with that mindset, being thought of, I can understand how someone may, what's what I'm looking for? bend a knee to their own moral dilemma in order to ensure that the profits can go to their employees to eat. Ironically, I highly doubt most companies have that mindset, because many of them will just go, screw my employees. I want my money for myself. And I think that's where most of the decisions are being made for the big companies. But,
Yeah, it's mostly the big companies too, and it's a bit hard to redevelop a lot of the arts and the language for an indie developer or small studio. Like a CD Projekt Red. I don't think their games are sold in China. Wait, are they? How big is CD Projekt Red actually? Are they bigger than they imagine? I assume it's like 10, 20 people.
I think
they bigger than that?
I think it's bigger than that, yeah. And I think they recently just bought another studio.
Okay. Well, then if they're buying another studio, they might be bigger than I thought. Might have not been a good analogy. Oh, they're Polish, right? That's Polish.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so they're a lot bigger than I thought.
But yeah. I will say though, you mentioning how sometimes being online is much worse than being, in the real world in terms of what's out there. I think that bleeds into the next topic quite nicely. The fact that I believe virtual and augmented reality influence is on a very fast ramp upwards, right? A very fast rise. And I think a clear indication of that is Oculus, and more specifically, Facebook going to... Oh, sorry, I thought my computer did something weird. And Facebook going the route of rebranding into Meta for the metaverse. And shortly after they did that, we saw Microsoft, who was just like, oh, no, we also have Microsoft Horizon. And then, of course, before these two all together, we had Google Glass. And then after Google Glass, we had the Snapchat shades with the cameras. And I think right now, isn't Ray-Ban making some type of semi-smart glasses or something?
What? I was not aware of that. That's complete news to me.
I think.
I didn't know that.
But anyway, when VR became more popular via Oculus before they were bought by Facebook, and then later Steam came out with the Vive with HTC, and then later they came with the Vive 2 or whatever without HTC.
Yeah.
You could tell right then and there that was the starting point of a new trend.
Yeah, I remember someone trying to sell me that. Not the Vive, but the... Wait a minute. No, not the Oculus. Sorry, the Oculus. The Oculus out of Best Buy. Like, oh, that's pretty cool, but not for me.
Yeah. So now you have Facebook saying they want to create an entire virtual universe or a metaverse that people can, put on their VR glasses and go and talk with family and friends and see them and interact. And I think all that is just looking at a lot of what Facebook showcased, I will admit, I was like, this is super cool. The problem is, I will never trust Facebook with it.
That's a lot of data, yeah, they're going to have on you.
Right. I just
I mean, they have a lot. They're just asking for more, and I'm not sure if I wanted the Ready Player One universe to be owned by Facebook. It's a little too much for me.
Is that? Oh man.
Or sorry, Meta.
Oh yeah, because Facebook doesn't exist anymore. No, I'm sorry.
Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that PC builder thing, the Meta PC. He's like, if you guys don't want to switch back, then we'll just rename as Facebook PC. Like, man, I just want to buy a PC for this guy just because it'd be so hilarious. More brand of Facebook.
But with stuff like this becoming more apparent, being more on the rise, again, I think it's going to be very important for the average user to think about how their data is used. I know I wrote in the show notes in bold for like the next bit is to like own your data, and I think we've made the statement like own your data, be more aggressive with how or about your data, like where is it, what it's being used for, how is it being sold. I think it might be time to try to push for an own your data movement. I don't think we can be like the spark like Louis Rossmann did for Right to Repair, but I think more people need to make this more more common, more normalized, right? Because if not, Amazon and Facebook are going to abuse your data without your consent. So,
Right. Yeah, you don't know what these algorithms are, which bucket they're categorizing you in. Well, maybe you do. Maybe on some sort of list. Well, maybe a government list, but that's a topic for another day. Yeah, you don't know what people are doing with this information. With these reports coming out seems like once a month now. These news reports about these shady actors at these big tech companies.
yeah.
Like, come on, how far-fetched is it that one of these days someone's just gonna download all these saucy pictures from I don't know, what is it, Instagram or Facebook and all these other companies? They're not gonna find out for a while.
Right.
Or they're gonna say they're gonna fire them, that the photos were deleted, but they really weren't.
And it's funny that you say that, because going into like our last topic, which is something I found out very recently, was essentially Amazon had a massive data leak at one point that, I mean, is laughable. So like, let me I got the link pulled up on the browser somewhere. I think I'll just open it in the show notes, because I think Wired broke the story first, and they actually spoke with Facebook engineers and support call employees and etc. I should have highlights. Okay, yeah, there they go. So yeah, and to quote Wired here, according to Reveal and Wired's findings, they were real. That being the statements made about like the lax security around people's data and the tools that Amazon employees were given that allowed them to look up people's purchases without like any form of protocol. So it says, across Amazon, some low-level employees were using their data privileges to snoop on the purchases of celebrities, while others were taking bribes to help shady sellers sabotage competitors' businesses, which we also know is a real thing, and that's why I believe automated reviews started happening. And so you would have people not only make fake reviews for their own products, and with like 5 stars, you would also see a bunch of 1 or 2 stars on competitor products that were also through automated bots by the competitors. But I digress. And they would also doctor Amazon's reviews, review systems. There we go, right there, and sell knockoff products to unsuspecting customers. Millions of credit card numbers had sat in the wrong place on Amazon's internal network for years, with the security team unable to establish definitively whether they'd been unduly accessed. And for more, and a program that allowed sellers to extract their own metrics had become a backdoor for third-party developers to amass Amazon customer data. In fact, not long before September's hearing, with the whole government legislation stuff, Amazon had discovered that a Chinese data firm had been harvesting millions of customers' information in a scheme reminiscent to Cambridge Analytica, which was the whole Facebook controversy from like a couple of years ago. It's crazy, dude. And that's not all.
But wait, there's more.
Billy Mays here. At the same time, a different stratum of Amazon's empire presented another set of unruly vulnerabilities. Around the world, thousands of Amazon customer service representatives sat in rows of cubicles in call centers or at computers in their own homes to ensure that they could help customers as quickly as possible. The company, that being Amazon, gave these employees the ability to look up nearly anyone's purchase history on command. That means, again, you don't have to be in a call. You don't got to go through some type of security clearance or a check with the customers on the phone with you. They could just look up anybody's. One former service rep who requested anonymity. I can never say that word correctly. I'm like, if you ever watched the cartoon Arthur, when Binky Barnes tried to email Muffy some information for like her blog, and he had spelled it a ninny mouse. That's me.
I don't think I've seen that one. It's pretty funny.
But anyway, The anonymous service rep stated that he remembered colleagues looking up the purchases of Kanye West and movie stars from the Avengers films, even scooping out a few adult products in a particular celebrity's purchase log. So, again, this is one of the biggest companies in the world. And there's a quote somewhere here. Is it tape? Yeah. Where is it?
This all happened ages ago, right? It's not a reason. This is just a compilation of things that have happened over the years.
I believe going back as far as like 2018, two things are still recent. So I think like the tools, being able to look up people's purchases, is still recent to this day. But the third party firm from China amassing information, I think that was a few years ago. But let me say, there was somebody, particular higher up or somebody. I'm trying to find his name. I think it's like Gagnon. But anyway, the quote here was, or as he settled into his new role, Gagnon quickly realized that all was not well with information security, as he was urged to call it, at Amazon. The size of the company's network was astounding, but it was all put together with tape and bubblegum. A tangle of old and new software, Gangnam says. It grew up out of a garage and it's just kept going from there. New customer products were locked down with the utmost secrecy before launch, Gagnon says. But otherwise, it seemed like everyone on the network had access to nearly everything, including customer information, and yet there was no insider threat program dedicated to preventing rogue employees from abusing their access while he was there. More fundamentally, he says, the team didn't seem to have any systematic way of prioritizing its biggest security risk. And to end with the final quotes, it was shocking to me, Gagnon says. It's unbelievable, man. Like, how can you be the size of Amazon with that much customer data, with that much government funding for your government contracting, and be this loose with the data? This loose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point to bring up. Yeah, these people have government contracts. That means they got a lot more information on more people. Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, man, I hope their government thing is more like that, but who knows?
It's not. Well, okay, it might be a little bit better, but so that source I mentioned earlier, who I wanted to keep mostly hidden as much as possible, he also stated that during his time with the CIA, he talked with others who talked about Oracle, Oracle, the company, behind like Java and etc., and how Oracle databases were, really big and still is big to this day, even if they're losing a lot of popularity in terms of developer outreach.
Yeah, I think I read the article that Amazon started off on Oracle and then they moved on to their own thing once they realized that they're spending way too much on Oracle.
Yes, but to quote from this previous CIA worker, he was told that, or he was asked, "Do you know what the Oracle database were initially designed for?" And he was like, "No," and they told him, "Oh, it was to collect the data on users who readily put information out there, so that when they had those government contracts with Oracle, they could just simply access those databases to see the public information given out by the users themselves." Again, I don't know how true this is. This is all from a word of mouth without any actual, concrete source, other than, again, direct communications with someone who worked with the CIA for a short time. There weren't any, big position in there or whatever, but they worked with them on those aspects and was allegedly told this. So
I guess I can't be. Well, I see it as probable. I mean, given the Snowden revelations, praise be upon him. Of everything that goes on to collect data.
Yeah, I mean, I think season 1 we had a whole. Or I could have made a YouTube video like a few years ago about it. I had friends who would say like, oh, they went to Facebook, look at their account logs, and they would see that a lot of people would try to access their account from all over the world. And they were like, oh yeah, man, the government's trying to access my account. And I was like, okay, not to burst your bubble, but no, the government doesn't need to try to guess a password to get into your account. You already post public information that they can easily grab if they need it. Whatever.
Yeah, you're doing the work for them.
Yes, it's the same. It's okay. I'm about to step into a very controversial topic here, and I might get canceled for it, but I think it will it'll get the point across, right? So, anti-vaxxers, right? On a basic thought process of someone going, I don't have trust in the medical profession field. I think that alone is a rational thought. And most people say, oh, no. You know, whatever research you do on yourself, you should, listen to doctors. And I genuinely agree majority with that concept. However, we have seen with evidence that, big pharmaceutical companies bribe doctors to sell medication for a cut of the profits. That is inherently not something that is morally just, especially when a lot of those purchases or those deals was made around Oxycontin drugs, which we are now discovering is like this whole Oxycontin addiction epidemic. And we know that this was caused by, again, pharmaceutical companies pushing for these Oxycontin medicine, and these doctors who bought or who took the bribes and pushed those medicines to their patients. That alone is a reason to be skeptical about the medical field. Okay, where I draw the line is with someone who tells me they won't get the vaccination because they know that there's a tracking chip in it because the government wants to track them. And I mean, like, that's just hold on. Anyway, so where was I? The line in the sand. I can understand why somebody would be worried, concerned, or just simply cautious. And I think a degree of caution is a good thing to have. But the moment you start saying, like, the government wants me specifically, the government wants to target me specifically, they want to find and track me by putting a chip in my bloodstream, or they use or they're posting schematics for a guitar pedal for the amp and say this is the blueprints to the chip, where the circuitry itself is bigger than a grain of rice, so it could not fit in a syringe. I think there's a clear difference in those mindsets, right? Or is that just me?
Oh, I wanted to add. I didn't want to break your flow, but I want to add in on top of pharmaceutical companies, like, coming to doctors' offices. Insurance companies do the same thing. I was reading this book by Dr. Kevin Casey. He's a ER doctor out of Texas. He was mentioning, like, every week, almost every week, it's not rare to see some insurance guy knocking at your clinic, offering to take you out to lunch, giving you this, like, fancy pen and this brochure, like, hey, would you mind taking us some time today to talk about, Aetna and accepting Aetna and other insurance companies, because once they get that contract, then oftentimes they have to explicitly offer certain services to, well, hold on now. Let me try to get the wording right. Once they sign a contract with an insurance company, there's certain restrictions on their medical practice that they have to follow. And this guy, Dr. Kevin O'Casey, he wanted to set up a clinic that was cash only and had cash prices, and it was very transparent, where he had I don't want to say menu, but I guess for lack of a better term, a menu up front in his front desk that people could see how much he would charge for certain things, because he was trying to transition more into a general practitioner from ER. And long story short, because of the culture in America, since a lot of people are really accustomed to just paying with insurance and not wanting to pay up front for medical care, he unfortunately said he had to close down his clinic because not a lot of people wanted to pay cash, and they're like, "What? $100 for like a physical or for this thing?" He's like, "I mean, yeah, it's $100, but come on, how much do you spend on that new TV? And this is for your health, and you do it once a year. How much are you paying on your premium?" I was like, "Come on, it's $100," and you got a lot of people that say no, and Unfortunately, he had to close it down. I believe he only does house calls now.
That's sad to hear. And like neither one of us is in the profession of being a doctor, a medical giver, or etc., or even insurance. But I kind of like that idea. I would have maybe thought that he would probably still have options for insurance intake, but then heavily push for, direct, transparent, cash, etc. But it is what it is. I think, as we always say, the consumer is the one who inadvertently drives the direction for trends and things, and sometimes that's for the good, sometimes it's for the bad. But either way, let me preference with, or I guess not preference. It would be postfence.
Preface.
Wait, I'm making a note after the fact, not before. So it's not a preference or a preface. It's post
Inclusion. Oh, and
I don't know. To tack
in
on.
retrospect. Okay.
Yeah.
In addition.
Thank you. That's like a SAT transition. Get the vaccine. I highly recommend getting the vaccine. The information that's currently out there, there is not, from what I've seen, anything that promotes shadiness around the vaccine itself. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying you should not trust the vaccine. I've gotten the vaccine. Planning on getting a booster shot. If anything happens to me, I will be the first to come out and say it. But at the moment, I don't think there is any true sourceable weighted information that truly feeds into far radical conspiracy theories in regards to like the vaccine is going to cause you to do. It's a lot of mess out there. But I will simply say that if we want to have straight up conversations about the well-beings of individuals, that we should approach it with the right word choice and the right mindset around it. It should not be unheard of for someone to be cautious when it comes to their health. You should not treat somebody as if they're an idiot for being cautious about their health. You should potentially call somebody an idiot for very irrational thoughts that are outside of the laws of physics. Again, like a tracking chip being in a liquid that is pushed into your bloodstream via a syringe with the blueprints being much bigger than the syringe. That's fine because you have the evidence to show how that is, completely ridiculous. So, just wanted to put that out there, but I'm probably still going to get some angry emails about that take.
Bold claims require bold evidence.
That is very true. Yeah. Oh, no.
That's it. Yeah.
Add that to
summarize it.
Yeah. Add that to the big book of Lewis quotes. Which again, we have to make and actually make it merch to sell. We'll have like volumes. Like every 2 years, we'll come up with the next volume of Big Lewis quotes or the big book of Lewis quotes. Like you'll become the new Merriam-Webster. You'll be the Lewis Sandoval.
I think Merriam-Webster was a dude, right? I think they're just their last names, Merriam and Webster.
I honestly, I have no idea. I'll
have to look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know how pretty I'll look like with a wig. But...
Yeah. Anyway, to close out on the actual topic, though, about Amazon's data leak and how one should own their own data, I will also say, in case you're thinking, well, the people who make these claims are potentially making it up. How do we know for a fact that any of this is true? Amazon came out and responded specifically, and they stated that, and I quote, these situations do happen, they're just not common. So their defense is, oh yeah, no, this is actually a problem, but it's not as big of a problem as you might think because it doesn't happen as common as what these allegations are saying. But no, if any Dick, Tom, and Harry can, or is it Tom, Dick, and Harry, can access anybody's purchase history or their purchase log or their account logs or their account information, doesn't matter how common, uncommon, how rare, how natural as breathing as it is, it's an issue. And as users who have a lot of their information on a platform such as Amazon, we should not be okay with it, and we should definitely make a stink about it. So if you have the time, well, I don't know. I don't have a solution as to like the best way to combat this, aside from one, do not threaten anybody's life. Never advocate for that. But maybe send them an angry email.
Like, I think they'll take a turn there. I think that's a contradiction. Okay.
We know.
Anyway.
I just exposed my true self. Send them an evil email. No. Send them an angry email going like, I'm not okay with my data being exposed and being accessible as easily by your employees. It might not do anything, but if we scream loud enough, they might change. I doubt it. They might make some type of public statement that say they're changing, but in reality, they're not doing much. But I digress. It's really irritating, aggravating, frustrating, infuriating, if I've not said that already, and just downright sad that this is happening, and, you know, it's like the norm. Oh, actually, no. The final point to this that I wanted to make, actually, because I just remembered because we talked about it the other day. This is the reason why things like VPNs, end-to-end encryption, and essentially encoding and things are important. A lot of people like to say that these methods of cybersecurity is a way for, you know, ne'er-do-wells and bad actors to hide their crimes and their criminal activity. And yes, that's true. People do use these methods to hide said information. But at the same time, if we don't have encryption, if we don't do cybersecurity on the end user's front and have, like, you know, end-to-end encryption for someone's data, it becomes as easily accessible through company workers without any form of legal repercussions if someone infringes on your privacy. And I'm not even the biggest go America, freedom, and blah, 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 blah. But no, you have a right to your privacy, and that should include your data. And when we see a lot of companies put out propaganda, for a lack of a better term, to say like, oh no, the reason why we don't allow encryption is because we think criminals will use it. No, that's not valid. It's really not. In fact, at least in the USA, which is why a lot of VPNs try to be constructed outside in different countries, but within the USA, you have companies who will agree to end-to-end encryption, but will then say if the government sends them a warrant to access someone's data, they will give that data to them. While I personally don't agree with that, that is still 10 times better than trying to say, no, you should not encrypt your data because only criminals encrypt their data. Like, no.
I wanted to do a correction and a comment. So the correction is encoding is not the same as encryption. Make sure stuff is encrypted on encoding. Encoding is just changing like a different format, like English or Spanish. Like it can still be understood just by, you know, a different program. I want to throw that out there. And then adding to your point about the criminals use encryption. Like, well, yeah, I mean, it's something that goes along with the Bitcoin and crypto communities as well. Like, oh, the criminals are just going to use these encrypted crypto services, these anonymous coins to transact. I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. But criminals also use cash as well, just like me and you. And I think I remember reading something years ago about how almost every single U.S. dollar has trace amounts of cocaine. So we're kind of using a bit of blood money, a bit. So it's like, well, we're not dealing with clean cash ourselves anyway. And just because they do bad things with it doesn't mean everyone else who does things. It's a and I forgot the name on the fallacy. I have to look it up. But it's a fallacy to extrapolate that to the greater population. Oh, just because these people use it for bad things means that everyone else who also has this power is going to use it for bad things.
Yeah. And again, that's not to say that like we shouldn't look to or towards potential solutions to circumvent said criminal activity. But again, to boil it down to like, it's bad to do it, that's end of story. It's just completely asinine. And to your point about like, you know, the idea that criminals uses like NFTs, bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, etc. I believe it came out recently, I think this year, that the government found that a lot of criminals would use simple things like Cash App to launder money. In the past, I believe PayPal was also used to launder money. So, I mean, I think the points have been made pretty clearly at this junction. It's just funny and again sad to also to see. I don't know.
To quote a lawyer I was listening to recently, remember, well, if you're listening in the U.S., you're innocent until proven guilty. It's on the burden of the prosecutor to prove otherwise. So, with that in mind, why aren't you allowed to use encryption again, or why should you be encrypting everything?
Oh, look, I wish we didn't live in a society where encryption was, in my opinion, because I believe it is today, a necessity. It's needed. It just is. How deeply our societies, our entire global population, for the majority of it, is tied into the internet, technological advances, and etc. Is too far integrated to the point where we should not be protecting ourselves in various different ways. That's what it boils down to. We need to protect our online identification, essentially all the data that makes us and identifiable online, because it can easily be taken and used against us, and that's a problem. And that's essentially that's exactly where the problem and the conflict lie, at that exact line, in my opinion. So, oof. It's been a long episode, Lewis. I hope I didn't keep you too long, and I hope the listeners are not bothered by a near 2-hour episode, but it was a big chongus of a session. You have any final things you want to add?
Let's see. To add to the privacy bit, yeah, just like locking your doors in your car, or locking your front door, and not living in a house completely made of glass windows. We all inherently just want a bit of privacy and security, for a bit of peace of mind. That's all.
Very well said, Lewis. Very well said. So, everybody, I think that's going to conclude it for our show. Just as a reminder, again, we are nearing the wrap-up of the season. We don't know when season 3 will be planned right now. I have a lot of stuff on the backlogs. Matter of fact, it might be hard for people to see because I have it kind of blurry from the camera. But behind me is actually some sensitive data when it comes to EOZ. Not anything like crazy, but people can probably make out a calendar with certain dates and things on it for certain plans. But no, so we'll see what happens. The next episode we'll have is with Andy. He wants to talk about Dune, which I have yet to watch in terms of the new one. But yeah, I guess so. Before we wrap up, I would say please check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/essence of Zen, as well as the gaming channel, youtube.com/c/essence of gaming EOZ. Check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/essence of Zen. You can come to our Discord server, which is discord.chat/essence of Zen. If that's not correct, I'm going to be really mad. And yeah, just hang out with us. If you want to email us a story or a comment, you can do that with afterdark@ssn.org, or if you want to reach out to us on a platform like Twitter, if you are one of the 10% of people who are making tweets, tweet us at EOZ After Dark, and we'll respond back to you. I'm actually really happy, man. This episode is going out right before Thanksgiving, or that's the plan at least. Hopefully I can edit it in time. Oof. But I do want to make the point right now that I am quite thankful for the group of listeners that we do have, the people from Uganda, people all across the world who listens to the podcast and whatnot. And also, I'm thankful for my friends and family. Like Lewis here, my studious co-host. I consider him a brother. I promise you, Lewis, I don't know if I've told you this or whatnot, but my mom literally calls you her other son. So.
Yeah. It's a high honor. Thank you.
So for people out there, I know we're still going through some very rough times, and society is not looking so great as a whole when it comes to inflation, gas prices, housing prices, the housing crisis, shipping crisis, chip shortage, GPUs being stolen, and just much more. But at the end of the day, if you woke up today, at least take some time to breathe, relax, and just be thankful that you made it another day, because not everybody can say that. And I truly hope that everyone who's listening, and even for those who aren't, I hope you guys have a fantastic holiday season. I hope you spend it with people who you care about the most. And even if you're by yourself, know that you are not alone. And again, you are always welcome to join our community. Hit us up, have some chats, talk about anime, manga, comics, and more without, much to worry about. So again, I'll just see you guys in the next episode, next video, next stream, whichever it might be. Just stay safe, drink water, and take care.
Until next time.
Oh, this was a long episode.
I was gonna say, when you're saying we'll still be here, like saying with the inflation, like, and all these things, I was like I was imagining like you and I being those guys on the Titanic saying like one last song, chaps, like still singing, playing music as like the ship's going down. Yeah, I'll still be here.
Essence of Zen After Dark is recorded by and for geeks and nerds alike. The intro and outro songs were provided by ProLeader, who you can find at proleader.bandcamp.com. That is PROLETER.bandcamp.com. If you have suggestions for topics you want to see on the show, then feel free to drop by discord.chat/Essence of Zen and join the community and give us said suggestions. Thank you.